As promised, this March Marvel Madness is focusing on the webhead, and today we're going to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, I know I'm skipping over Spider-Man 3, and don't worry, I have thoughts on that movie, but I'll have to address them possibly in the next March Marvel Madness. I wanted to get as many versions of Spider-Man in this year to set up a special video towards the end of this series. Ooh, teasers. Stay tuned. But until then, let's look at possibly one of the most unwanted comic book reboots ever. Oh, don't worry, we'll get to that one eventually. Nope, today is all about that Amazing Spider-Man. We have a fresh new cast, a fresh new look, a more serious tone, and even a smack-talking Spider-Man this time around. Surely this must be better than the original trilogy, right? Well, many people didn't think so. Part of that probably has to do with the marketing. The tagline for this movie was, "The Untold Story."
You serious?
Yeah, that was kind of just a flat-out lie. The basis of this story is very much the one you've seen before many times. Some of the trailers even make it seem like Peter's parents and the mystery behind their disappearances are going to play a big role, and it doesn't. It's pretty much a retread, however, that doesn't mean they retreaded it poorly. But in order to tell the story the way they wanted, they took certain liberties with certain characters, specifically Peter. He's still kind of an awkward nerd, but this time they made him more of a loner type character. I don't know if this was decided before or after casting Andrew Garfield, but I think in terms of the story, it makes sense. This Peter never looks like a super nerdy kid, and thus he shouldn't really act like one. If anything, he's kind of a normal kid that happens to be super smart. Some people may have an issue with this because it isn't what they're familiar with, but I think it's a decent update, and I'll get into why. There is a mystery that surrounds what happened to Peter's parents that is being kept from him at nearly every turn since he was a young boy. Peter knows this, and also as much as he loves his aunt and uncle, he knows they're lying to him. So as a result, he has trust issues and chooses to remain distant from people. I feel a lot of people missed that and just kind of wrote him off as a moody, brooding teen. So you get that he's kind of sitting on a bit of anger, and it's brought to the forefront when his uncle gets killed and he goes on this vigilante spree. Yeah, he does that. He tracks down a bunch of people who fit the same description as his uncle's killer. Well, that's not very Spider-Man-like, and you're probably right. But I looked at it not in terms of what Spider-Man would probably do, but in terms of what an angry teenager with superhuman powers grieving over the murder of his uncle would probably do. Again, I think that's something people probably missed. This movie really takes its time turning Peter into Spider-Man. Even after he gets the suit, he's not the hero he grows up to be as of yet. I think the film benefited from that because it made Peter's arc more meaningful. There are other good things in the movie as well. Charlie Sheen, Emma Stone, and Sally Field give good performances as Uncle Ben, Gwen Stacy, and Aunt May respectively, and hell, I even like the romances between Peter and Gwen. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I was actually rooting for their relationship. The issues I have with the movie really stem from the villain and the movie feeling kind of incomplete. The villain, once he becomes the villain anyway, just kind of turns into this generic crazed supervillain, which was disappointing because they were setting him up to be a more sympathetic character. As for the incompletion of the movie, well, in addition to a couple of plot holes, this movie kind of felt like a big budget TV pilot. I felt like I should come back next week for episode 2. There are certain questions that aren't answered that work, but there are also certain things that you can tell they were trying to leave open for a sequel, and it just comes across as forced. I think it's sitting at about a 75 or something on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think that's pretty fair. There are certain really good things that I mentioned that I feel get overlooked, but I think it all balances out. I probably enjoy this movie more than most, but what can I say? This one just caught me in its web.